Hey, what up, guys? Coming to you this morning with the weekend preview for Saturday, December 7th. We got 3 cards taking place that day and a total of 7 fights to talk about, so I'll try to get through it as quick as I can, but they are pretty good fights. Now, I'm going to start from lowest to highest, the lowest card to the best card. ESPN Plus, not sure the time yet. I'm sure it's going to be around 6 o'clock. They have a card going on. I believe it's taking place in Mexico. Only one fight to talk about. The headliner, the main event. It's going to see Emmanuel Navarrete, the reigning WBO Super Bantamweight World Champion. That's 122 pounds. He's taking on some unknown guy named, I think, Francisco Horta, I think is the guy's name. This is just Navarrete staying busy. He is an all-action Mexican-style fighter, though. So go out and check him out. He's a good fighter. He can bring it. He likes to fight. This is his 4th fight this year, his 4th title defense. And he's just trying to stay busy and keep knocking guys out ahead of either moving up in weight or a big unification bout next year. So you don't want to miss him fight. He's a good fighter. Like I said, all action. He's got 3 fights this year, all 3 by knockout. And he's looking for number 4 here on Saturday the 7th. That's ESPN Plus. Don't miss out. Then on Showtime, this card should be kicking off between 6 and 7 as well. You got a triple header, and it's a good one. Starting with the undercard, the fight that's kicking off the show is another Super Bantamweight fight, 122 pounds. You're going to see former IBF champion Ryosuke Iwasa from Japan. He's taking on Marlon Tapilis of the Philippines. Tapilis is a former Bantamweight world champion, which is 118 pounds. These guys are fighting for the vacant IBF interim championship here. The winner will be mandatory to the unified champion, Daniel Roman, who's making a WBA mandatory defense, I believe in January or February. So they'll be in line to fight for the unified world title, which is a big deal. Iwasa, he controversially lost his title back in 2018. Tapilis hasn't really made a name for himself at 122 yet, but he did at 118. This should be a good one. All-action fight, 2 little guys throwing a lot of punches. I'm going with Iwasa to take a decision here, but I really think Tapilis could pull it off, and it could go either way. But I'm gonna give this one to Iwasa, but it should be a good fight opening that card. Now the co-feature is going to be a really good middleweight fight. It's for the vacant WBA interim middleweight championship, as it's going to see former world title challenger Chris Eubank from the United Kingdom as he moves back down to middleweight and takes on former world title challenger Matt Korobov. Now, Eubank fought in the World Boxing Super Series. He's coming off that big win over James DeGale back in February, and he's trying to make a name for himself at 160 and get himself into a big fight. Now, Korobov, last December, a year ago, he took on Jermall Charlo and came up short in that fight, but there was a lot of people that felt Korobov won that fight, or it should have been scored a lot closer than it was. I'm in that camp right there. I think that fight could have went either way, but I'm fine with Charlo winning, but it was a lot closer than they scored it, and I think a couple of the judges gave Charlo 11 or 12 rounds. It was a ridiculous scoring system they had. But Korobov's trying to get back in the mix. A win over, I personally think the winner of this fight is going to land a Charlo title fight in the first half of next year. So, if Charlo's still world champion, of course. But yeah, going to be interesting. Really good fight that could go either way. I'm giving this fight to Eubank. He hasn't fought at middleweight in a couple years, but he's always been kind of he's in very good shape when he comes into his fights, and I think he can make either weight, 160 or 168. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good one right here. I think Korobov's a really live underdog coming in. I think Eubank's going to win a decision here, but I think Korobov could pull it off as well. And I think this fight could end by knockout, so we're going to see. Should be a good one. That's the co-feature. Now the main event on Showtime that night is undefeated Jermall Charlo, the WBC middleweight champion, as he takes on former world title challenger Dennis Hogan. Hogan fought for the world title at 154 against Jaime Munguia back in April. He fought his ass off. It was a very close fight. It went to the scorecards where Munguia took a very close unanimous decision, but it was controversial, as there's a lot of people that thought Hogan won that fight. So now Hogan's getting another opportunity at a world title, moving up to middleweight against Charlo. I think he's a very live underdog. Charlo, I think he's going to win this fight, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as everybody thinks, unless Charlo catches him early or in the middle rounds with his power shot. So I think Hogan's going to push him. I think Charlo's going to be on point too, though. He wants a bigger fight, but he cannot overlook Hogan. I think Charlo's going to win this fight by either a knockout in the middle to later rounds or a decision. But again, I really think Hogan's got a live chance. So two good-ass middleweight fights that could go either way on Showtime. Don't miss out on that Showtime card on Saturday. But the big card of the day takes place on DAZN. You have a big card there, but it's highlighted by 3 heavyweight fights. First up, on the undercard, you're going to see Dillian Whyte, top contender from the United Kingdom, making his return, taking on Mariusz Wach, former world title challenger. This is a good fight right here. Whyte's just trying to stay busy as he waits around to see if he's going to get cleared in the United Kingdom for doping. Because if he does, he's in line to fight the winner of Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. He's the interim champion in the WBC, so we're going to see. But yeah, Dillian Whyte, very good fighter. His only loss was to Anthony Joshua years ago by knockout. He hurt Joshua in that fight, though, so it should be a good one right here against Wach, who's a veteran, been there, done that. I think Whyte's going to knock him out, but I do think it could go either way, and it's going to be a good fight. So check that out on the undercard. Now the co-feature, another heavyweight tilt here. You got Alexander Povetkin, former WBA champion, is taking on Michael Hunter, former world title challenger at cruiserweight, and he was an Olympian as well. This is a good fight right here. Hunter has only lost 1 fight in his career. That was to Alexander Usyk in a cruiserweight title fight a few years ago. And he gave Usyk trouble in that one. It was a decision loss. Now he's fighting at heavyweight. He's been successful so far. Povetkin's 40 years old, making his last run in the heavyweight division. He's coming off a big win over Hughie Fury back in September. This is going to be a good heavyweight fight right here. I really think Michael Hunter's a live underdog, could go either way. I'm predicting Povetkin to win this one, though, probably by a decision, but I think he could knock Hunter out. But I think Hunter, like I said, I think Hunter might be able to outbox the older Povetkin, get a big win, and punch a ticket into the top 10. So we're going to see what happens. That's the big undercard going on that day. But in the main event, huge rematch for the unified heavyweight title. Andy Ruiz Jr. against Anthony Joshua for the unified world title rematch from June when Andy Ruiz scored an upset 7th round TKO over Joshua to capture the unified title. Now Joshua has a chance to prove that he's the better man and regain his world titles and put himself back into that big 3-way mix in the heavyweight division. We're going to see if he can do it. I think Andy Ruiz has a solid chance of repeating what he did, but I honestly believe Anthony Joshua is going to come in a lot better. I think he's going to knock out Andy Ruiz in the middle to later rounds, possibly a unanimous decision here, but he will regain the world title, will Andy Ruiz. And, will Anthony Joshua. I think he's going to regain it. Huge fight, though. Can't wait to see it. Saturday, December 7th on DAZN. Triple header of heavyweights. They're also having other fights. That's a cool thing about these streaming services, guys. They have a lot of fights on their undercards, as well. So if you just want to watch a lot of boxing, a lot of these guys aren't big names that are on the undercards, but you never know. It's a lot of boxing is what they're offering now on these streaming services. So ESPN Plus, Navarrete against Horta for 122-pound title. Showtime, the main event, Charlo and Hogan for the middleweight title. And then DAZN, you got the unified heavyweight title in the main event, Ruiz and Joshua. Can't miss this Saturday, guys. Check it out. All right, guys, that's the schedule. Weekend preview. All right, True Boxing. Been hit with the truth.